Hello, my name is Kate Sherlew. I am Little Billy's ESC teacher. So ESC is for special education. Your son has been diagnosed as he's an SWD, which means he's a student with disabilities. We'll go into a little bit more about that, but before we do that, I'd like to talk about testing scores, because that's what we're here about. So he has taken two tests. One is the STAR test, and one is the FSA. And FSA stands for Florida Standard Assessment Test. So it's this test that all students take in Florida, and it allows us to have an idea where students are classified, how well districts do against each other, how students do within the school. So it's a really good gauge to find out what students are learning and how. So about the scoring of the FSA, there are five levels of scoring of the FSA. The first is considered inadequate. So a student who has a level 1 is considered to be not at where they need to be, they're below standard. For number 2, again, below satisfactory. Again, we're not in a situation where the student is learning what they need to learn adequately. Level 3 is satisfactory, which means they understand where they need to be, they're kind of at par where they need to be. And a level 4 means that they're proficient, which means this, again, a step above. They understand where they need to be and they understand the material, but even just a little more at a higher level. And mastery, and 5 is mastery, which means they are where they need to be and beyond. All right, so 5s are very, very good, very, very smart students in class and good at schoolwork. So it is confusing, the levels, just because we would think it would be easier if your child was had a 325 on something, that they would be a level 3. Unfortunately, this is not how this works. You can still be a level 2 at 332 and still be a level 2. So just because your child has reached the 300 level of something does not necessarily mean that they are a level 3. So I just want to clarify that for you. So your student, my little Jimmy, he is 5 years old. 5th grade, not 5 years old. He's in 5th grade. He's a male. He's been held back one time. He gets free lunch. He is a Latino, Hispanic Latino, and he is a student with disabilities. So SWD means a student with disabilities. And at the point, I do not know personally right now what Little Billy's disability is. There are 2 types of categories. There's other health impairments and there's specified or specific learning disability. Right now we don't really know what that is for him. We can definitely find out though. And all students that are SWD, classified as SWD, get accommodations for testing, assignments, and in-class work. So the accommodations, we'll be going through a list a little bit later, but for him, he received accommodations for the testing, which would help him perform better on the tests. And I'm going to go through some of those. Before I do that, as teachers, we take a lot of pride in understanding and creating curriculum around what our students need. So not all students learn the same way. We have kinetic learners that like to touch things, like, they're tactile. We have visual people who like to look at things, they see things, they learn by looking. Auditory, which means they hear, they learn through hearing. So we need to make sure as teachers that we cover all of those bases in our classroom setting to make sure that every single type of learning methodology is integrated into our curriculum. So Little Billy, these are the accommodations he got for the tests. He got oral presentation for all text, directions repeated and clarified. He was aware of his expectations. He had the opportunity to ask questions, and he had the opportunity to demonstrate he understood what we were asking him. We also gave him verbal encouragement. Verbal encouragement is really like, Billy, you got this. You're doing awesome. This is great. Kind of just giving them some positive reinforcement for the work they're doing. I find it really helpful with our students. That works really well. He got extended time. So Billy gets extended time and a half. Sometimes we can do double time if we feel the necessity for the student. If the student takes a little more time to process, we can extend that. For double time. We also have small groups. Now, small groups is a good situation. In testing, sometimes we test in a small group. So we usually have up to 10. So we will take these students out of the classroom setting and put them in a smaller setting with less students, with the teacher there to survey, to make sure things are going well. If they have any questions, not about the content, obviously, but just about the way things work, and have less distractions. This is a list of some accommodations that we can give to our ESE students and our ELL students. So English language learning students. I'm not going to read through them, but I will give you a copy of this in case you want it. So we also have, in our class content, we need to make sure that we diversify and we have enhancements and modifications to that curriculum. So again, this is another list, providing a word bank, chunking, highlighting, things that will help the student to better understand what the text is asking and how they need to respond. Now, little Billy, because he has a level 1 and a level 2 on both his math and his ELA, and for his STAR testing, he also did relatively low. We have put him in 2 intensive classes. So he has an intensive math class. So he has his regular math class, and he's an intensive math class. And then he has his ELA, his English class, and he has an intensive reading class. So the reason we do this is to make sure that all our level 1s have the support they need to get the information they need to be able to do well on tests, but just in life in general. Because if there's a deficit, then we need to find some way to fill that deficit. So these are some ways that we differentiate content and curriculum. So we do songs, game activities, poems, read aloud, plays, role plays. I establish jobs in my classroom, who opens the door, who takes the roll down, who decides to give out pencils, hand out assignments, things like that. So we have different roles. We have a show and tell, and we have what we call a love board. These are ways that we also differentiate content. We allow students to collaborate and work in groups. We like students to be able to work together, and we put a lot of emphasis on that. Some of our students teach other students. It's really great to watch. You see them know, and they ask the questions, and they teach other students, and it's really a really nice thing, and it works very well, very effective. There's also, we like to differentiate our assessment. So there's all kinds of different types of assessments. There's something called a formative assessment, which is like, how are you guys doing? Are you thumbs up, thumbs down? On a scale of 1 to 10, or are you a 10? Are you a 7? Wherever you are. So just kind of giving an exit ticket. Have you understood the material? Yes, I have. What did you not understand? Blah, blah, blah. So just kind of checking in with the student to make sure they understand what's going on. Then there's portfolio-based, where they do little projects and they present to the class, performance-based, and gamification. So we do integrate technology into our classes. We have GimCut, we have Kahoot, so in different ways, kind of jazzing the classroom up a little bit, giving them something new. There's some music that goes with it. They can make points in this competition. So trying to make the school learning information better and interesting to the students. So we have specific learning accommodations for ELL. Billy is not an ELL student, so I won't go into many of these. Different types of assessments. So I'm going to go through now some of Billy's FSA scores. So in the FSA there are what we call we have 2 years that we scored. So we have 2017 and 18, and we have 2018 and 19. So in 2000 for the ELA, he scored, ELA and math, he scored a 221, so a level 1, 291, so a level 1 in math in 2017 and 18. And in 2018 and 19, he scored a 296. So he raised his score by 5 points, which is good, very good. We were very proud of him. He did a really good job. For ELA in 2017, he did a 286. He did a 286. But in English ELA for 2018-19, he did a 279. So he did drop from 2017 to 2018. And we're going to look and find out why we think that happened. We're not really sure what happened there, but we're going to have a look at that. But he did have a decline, which is not necessarily a good thing. This is just Florida assessment as in general, how students did, how many level ones they have. So the state of Florida had 20% of level 1. Now in the data set in little Billy's class, 50% of the students were a level 1 and a level 2, which is a bit alarming because we can see here we only have 39% for the state, but in our class 50% of our students were below standard, which is kind of alarming. And in Citrus County, we have for the level 1s it's 17% and level 2 77%, and that's my county. So this is just talking about what I was talking about the different, let's see this. So this is the ELA for grade 5 in the state of Florida. I said again, we had 50%, the state of Florida had 45% in the ELA. So we're not that below or anything about it. What the state of Florida is doing. For the STAR assessment, this is a criterion test. So we take the information and so he got tested in August, in December, and then in April. There's 3 tests. This test is a little bit different than the FSA. We don't compare his test scores to the other students' test scores. We compare his test scores to himself. So how well he did through the different testing system. For Billy, he received a 15 on the first test he took in August. In August. He got a 5, which is the lowest score we had for FSA, in December. And in the last test in April, he got a 12. So his best score for ELA was actually the first test he took. These tests are after instruction has already been given. So this is a bit alarming. And actually, and as his score was the lowest test score we had, we need to take a little bit more look into what happened there, I think. On the math, he scored his first test in August was a 42. No, first test in August was a 39. So sorry, was a 39. His second test was a 42, and his last was a 31. So he did the best on the middle test, which is interesting because in ELA, his worst test score was actually in the middle. So I don't know, he did so much better at math for the same test at the same for the different tests, but at the same time. So I don't know if he put a lot of brain power into the math and kind of the ELA kind of went by the wayside, but interesting. So he did a 39 for the first, 42 for the second, and a 31 for the last. And as I say, these are supposed to be progressive. We're supposed to move towards something. They're supposed to build on each other and be better. This is not necessarily the case we're seeing here, so we need to figure out why. So in conclusion, as teachers, we need to really look at these test scores really well and explain to you as parents how well your child is doing with these test scores, and also in a classroom situation, and compare them to kind of how everyone else is doing. So as we know, little Billy needs to continue with his accommodations, obviously, because when you look at his test scores, it's obvious that he needs additional help in the classroom. So we will continue to give him his accommodations. We might add some on, so there's some possibilities we might do that in the future, but we just wanted to let you know, and we hope if you have any questions, you'll let us know. Thank you.